can't live without it. We need it to survive. But the healthier the food is, the healthier we are. But food, as we should know, but not maybe always aware, is part of a wider system. And that system, and the health of the food also depends on the health of that system. And most of our food scraps in today's society end up in the bin. And that's a problem. And it's not a very good solution. And what it means is that it ends up here in the landfill. And when the food gets in the landfill, it can't be processed the way nature intended. It just sits there and rots. And the system is no longer closed, and so ultimately this is not sustainable. And the US EPA found that the majority of landfill waste is actually organic material, such as paper, food scraps, yard trimmings, and wood. So wouldn't it be great if we could somehow process this waste so in a different place so it would never get to the landfill in the first place? So what if there was some way you could directly reduce your own organic waste? Some way that you could take responsibility for the waste that you produce at home? I think there must be a way. And compost. Compost is nature's way of recycling that she's perfected over eons. And it's a natural process that breaks down organic material, and it's the best fertilizer for your soil that you'll ever find. So what is composting? Nature does it by herself. It usually that's referred to as a cold method, but we can hack that and do hot composting. And the microorganisms are the little dudes responsible for processing organic waste into into compost. So the hot composting method involves taking some nitrogen material, such as food and animal manure, combining that with carbon-based material, such as hay or leaves, and then adding a bit of water. And if you get and you've got to layer them, and you've got to have it in at least a metre cube size. And if you do it correctly, the center of the compost heap will get to about 60 degrees Celsius, and will create compost a lot faster than just if you left it in the cold state. And this is the end product. It's hummus, but it's not the hummus you eat. It's really good for your soil, and it's the best soil conditioner out there. It will improve any type of soil, be it clay or sandy soil. And so yeah, it creates very healthy soil, which then creates very healthy plants. And healthy plants go on to create healthy food, and healthy food create healthy people. So it's all part of the big system. So get composting. So next slide. There are many forms of composting. And this is called bay or bin composting, where you start in one bay here and you fill that up to you get to a certain height, and then you turn that over. In the process of forking it into the next bin, will aerate it, and the microorganisms will start getting active again. So this is the process. So you start in one bin and turn it over. Normally you have 3 bins, and using this method, you'll probably have compost ready to use, depending on the season, and if you do it right, in 6 weeks. The other method, which is my favourite method, is worms. Worms are great because you don't need a garden to compost, so there's no excuse. Even if you live in an apartment, you can do worm composting. I've got a worm farm at home and I do it. And that's basically any organic material that you don't want to feed them. They're sitting, things like onions. And they live in a container like this, which is tiered. You feed them the food scraps at the top, and they come and feed on those. And when that's full, you move that one down the bottom, take one at the bottom, and use the fertilizer that's in there on your garden. And the other method that you can compost with is a fermenting bin, also known as a bokashi bin. and you just even have one of these sitting on your in your pantry or something, and just filling your kitchen waste in there, just sprinkle a bit of fermenting activator on it, and then you'll go and probably bury that in the garden. So what can you compost? Well, you can basically compost anything that was once living. So paper, plants, meat, grass clippings, animal manure, fruit, cardboard, vegetables, things you can't compost are like inorganic materials, metals, plastics, and all that kind of stuff. So why compost? It helps to improve the sustainability of the environment by processing your own waste at home. More soil humus equals healthier plants, equals healthier people. And it doesn't really cost anything. I mean, there might be a few setup costs, but you can almost do it for nothing. So where do I begin? You want to, if you have a garden and enough space, I'd recommend doing the bins. Otherwise, you can buy a worm farm for about $50 US bucks with the worms included, or a Bokashi bin for less than that. So yeah, are there any questions?
Cool. How do you take the tray out without the like? Do you take the tray out and there's worms in it, or do
you lift them up? Yeah, they sit the trays sit on top of one another, and you pick them up and just cycle them. So
how do you get the worms out? You don't pull them out, do you?
Oh no. Yeah. What you do is you leave it out. The worms don't like the light, so they'll. If you leave it, if you leave it in the light for about 5 or 10 minutes, all the worms will go down to the lower layers, and then you'll get. But even if you throw them on the garden, the worms are fantastic for your garden, so it's all good.
So I don't want to have like a big long